Hey besties, today we are filming a very exciting video. I am super excited to film this video. For those of you that may not know, I am a massive Harry Potter fan, massive Potterhead. I've watched all the movies multiple times. I've been to Universal Studios Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I have dressed up as Hermione for Halloween. I've taken the Pottermore quiz. I've read so much information about the world of Harry Potter. I've seen all the Fantastic Beasts movies. I am a massive Harry Potter fan. I have a lot of knowledge of the world. However, I have only ever read the first book in the Harry Potter series. I've never read past that. I think I read the first book back in middle school for class, and then I proceeded to watch all the movies and I tried reading the second book, and I wasn't a big reader then. I didn't really enjoy reading, so I read a few chapters and then proceeded to put the book down and never picked it up again. And here we are, I'm in my fifth year of college. So it's been about almost a decade since I tried reading the series, which is actually crazy to think about. So I thought, why not do a reading vlog of me reading the series for the first time? Now, I have already read the first book, and I did proceed to start this video after already reading it again. So I just actually finished Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So I'll briefly talk about this before we dive into the rest of the series, the rest of the 6 books. If you don't know what Harry Potter is about, you're following this boy who, around his 11th birthday, finds out that he's a wizard. And not only is he a wizard, he's a very famous wizard in the community. When he was a baby, he survived a near death experience, and his parents did pass. And so you start off the book with him living with his aunt and uncle and cousin, who were all just really nasty to Harry. They don't treat him well. They treat him kind of like a live-in servant. But throughout the book, Harry finds out he's a wizard and he attends Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I love Hogwarts so much, it's so magical. But there he learns about the wizarding world, about himself, why he's famous, what his connection to the antagonist of the story is, and just follow him through his first year at Hogwarts. In Hogwarts, they go to school there for 7 years from the age 11 to 17 before they are sent off into the real world. Well, the wizarding world, we should say. But yeah, this book follows him in his first year. I'm not going to give too much away because that would ruin the whole plot of the book. But he ends up meeting 2 people at Hogwarts, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger, and they become this trio throughout this book, and I know throughout the series, that are always together, always getting in trouble together and going on adventures with one another and just basically being there for each other. They're all best friends with one another. But yeah, I don't think any book in this series I could, in good conscience, give less than a 5 stars because of how much I love the wizarding world and just the characters of Harry Potter. So it's a 5 stars. We're just going to leave it at that. Okay, now let's get into the second book. This is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Follows Harry in his second year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. But I can't really talk too much about the specific plot of this book. If I'm feeling it, I will include some spoiler sections, and I'll make sure to give you a forewarning and timestamps to skip to later in the video if I do make that happen. But let's dive into year 2, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. besties. So I finished reading Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. It was absolutely amazing. I loved reading this book. I really enjoyed following along with the characters during their second year at Hogwarts. Out of all the movies, I actually would say for the longest time, Chamber of Secrets was my least favorite. However, I did like this book better than the first one. I think it's because we already know our characters a little bit better. We're learning more about why Harry is special in the wizarding world, is where previously it was more just recognizing that he was someone that was special within the world. But I really enjoyed the plot of this one. The whole aspect of the Chamber of Secrets was really fascinating, and I really enjoyed the Golden Trio's dynamic with one another. I really like that we get to see them really working together in this one, trying to solve the end goal of who opened the Chamber of Secrets. But yeah, 5 stars. No, I can't give it anything less. Amazing book. Wonderful. Okay, now it's time to move on to Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This is the third book in the series. We're following Harry in his third year at Hogwarts, and in this one, the conflict arises within the story when Sirius Black, a man who was put in Azkaban, which is the wizarding world's prison, has broken out. He's escaped Azkaban. Sirius Black was supposedly a loyal follower of Voldemort. That's why he was put in Azkaban, and he's apparently broken out to come track down Harry. If you've read the books or watched the movies, you know who Sirius Black is. I love Sirius. I'm very excited to get into this one and honestly just learn a little more backstory than we get in the movies. So let's get into Prisoner of Azkaban. Hey besties, it's been a few days since I talked to you, but I did finish Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. It was amazing, 5 stars easily. I absolutely love this book. This book was definitely better than the first two. This is the book you really start to see the tone of the franchise change, the tone of the story change. I was expecting that going into it because the third movie and on in the film franchise is really where you start to see the story take a bit of a darker tone. So I was expecting that. And you definitely see it in the story. I do think the films maybe exaggerate that a little bit. I don't know if that's actually the case or if it's just the way I'm imagining the book in my head. But overall, really, really, really enjoyed this book. Very excited to continue the series. Absolutely love the characters and everything about them. One of the things that happens in this book was quite interesting to me when Hermione and Harry time travel and go back in time to save Buckbeak and Sirius. I was surprised that it's only about 25 pages of this over 430 page book. It is such a short part of this book, and I was really surprised because the movie spends about like 40 minutes doing the time travel, saving Buckbeak and saving Buckbeak and Sirius. And so it was interesting to me that it's actually such a small part of the book, but it was such a monumental part of the movie itself. But I do understand that it's a very important and significant aspect of this book and something that definitely needed to be included in the story in order to set up for the future films. I do enjoy, though, in the books, getting to see more Quidditch because some of the movies don't do as much Quidditch as others, but I enjoyed in the book seeing more Quidditch and seeing actually like the Quidditch Cup and the House Cup and learning more about that because in the movies they really set up the House Cup in the first movie, but then it kind of falls through in literally every other movie. Like we never talk about it again. So I enjoyed seeing more emphasis on the Quidditch in the book. But overall, an amazing book. I'm really excited to continue the rest of the story and see where our golden trio heads next. Okay, next we will be reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This is a favorite, I know, one of the favorites. It's a very thick book. We go from like a 400 something page book to over 700 pages. So, but I know there's a lot that happens because we dive more into the tasks in this book. So, I'm very excited to read this and honestly just learn more information and just find out more about the wizarding world of Harry Potter and especially the ending scene, the big ending stuff that happens in this book specifically. I'm excited to read that and then think of how they translated it to on screen. So let's get into the Goblet of Fire. Hey besties. So I just got back from New York and on the drive back, I finished Goblet of Fire. It was amazing. 5-star read. This one was even better than the third one. Don't even know how that's possible, but I really, really, really enjoyed this one. I absolutely love delving more into the characters and also some events that I've heard happen in the book, but we don't necessarily see in like the movies or anything like that. The ending where Voldemort comes back and stuff was really fascinating to me because in the movie it's this very important big scene, but I feel like we don't truly understand in the movie how much of a mastermind Tom Riddle was and Voldemort is, and the way he planned out everything throughout Harry's 4 years and him coming back to life and how strategic everything was. I was super impressed by how like methodical everything was and how planned out it was, and I was really intrigued by that aspect of this book. I mean, Voldemort coming back takes up like a large chunk of the book, so you knew there was going to be a lot of information, but I very much enjoyed that part of it. One of the things that I found interesting, if you watch the movies, when Harry gets called for the Goblet of Fire, Ron has this sort of like very like angry, mad at Harry sort of tone and vibe. That's the vibe that they went for with the movie franchise. Is where in the book it's almost like he's like passive aggressive about it. And it's like, I wish you would have told me and things like that. Like it's like he's ticked off, but he's not like overly angry about it like they are, or like he is in the movie franchise where he's openly like mad at Harry and stuff. I feel like in the book, Harry actually gets more like fired up and angry about the whole situation with Ron and everything. So I almost feel like I enjoyed the movie version better a little bit with that, just because I think I liked the way it might have been portrayed a little bit better. Not 100% sure. I like both versions equally though. But either way, 5 stars. Absolutely love this book. I can't wait to see how the next books end up being because of how this compared to the movies. So, very excited to delve into the next one. Okay, now I will be diving into Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. This is the longest book in the series. I don't know how fast I'm going to move through it because school is pretty busy right now, but I'm going to try to get through it as fast as possible while still enjoying it. And I'll keep you guys updated, maybe, if I feel like sharing my thoughts. Otherwise, I'll probably just talk to you when I finish the book. So let's get into reading. Hey besties. So it's been like a while since I last talked to you. I can't even tell you when I last talked to you. I finally finished Order of the Phoenix. This book, it was amazing. Like, don't get me wrong, but it took me through almost 3 weeks to read just because I don't know if it was putting me in a book slump or if I was like, I just needed a break from the world. But it was really hard for me to like get through this book. I was struggling at just like sitting down and dedicating time to reading it. And it's not like I wasn't enjoying it. Like I was enjoying it. It was a good book. I think it was just it's more I feel I don't know more mundane than some of the other books because you have a lot going on with like Umbridge and just being at the school in this book and you have less of the high stake aspect of it, I guess you could say. Like okay, book 4 you had the the different tasks for the Triwizard Tournament and Harry was about to die for like multiple times throughout that book. Is where this you don't really have like the high stake aspect until the end really. I mean, they talk about stuff with the Death Eaters and Voldemort's power and all that, but like I feel like the stakes aren't really high until the last like 100 pages of this book and this is 870 pages, so it's a long book to get through. You're following a lot of the school year with the Harry and just like what he's going through personally and things like that. So I think it was just trying to get through that was just not as entertaining to me. So I did while I was reading this, I read like a bunch of other books that were like shorter and I could just like use as like a break from this and were a different type of world and things like that. And don't get me wrong, I still really enjoyed this. I think it's better than, I know it's better than at least the first 2 books. And it's definitely like a good book. I wouldn't say any of them are bad books. It's a good book. I still really enjoyed it. Just took me a while to get through and I wasn't necessarily disinterested. I really don't know why it took me so long to get through this one. But with that being said, I will be going right into Half-Blood Prince. This is the 6th book in the series, so and it is on my monthly TBR, so that'll be good. Getting this one off my monthly TBR. In this one, it's Harry's 6th year, and I do know when I watch the movies, this for a long time was like always my favorite movie I mean, obviously the last one's like amazing because it has the battle, and who doesn't love a good like big action sequence battle and all that. But this one, in terms of story, I remember always really enjoying this one a lot. And I think it's because they're all like older now, that they're not these children that they're trying to protect. Like they're fully involved in everything. And so I always remember really enjoying this one. So I'm interested to see if I enjoy the book as much as I enjoyed the movie, or if it's the other way around, because I've heard some people talk about how amazing it is, and then some people talk about it's like the slowest book of the series. Very polarizing. Very opposite end of the spectrum reviews. But I guess we'll find out. So let's get into reading this one. Hey besties. So, if you saw in the last clip, I finished Half Blood Prince last night. Um, this is the sixth book. I finished it finally. It was amazing. 5 stars, obviously. I think most books in the series are 5 stars for me. I absolutely love the Harry Potter world and everything about it. I thought it was interesting reading this one because Half Blood Prince is one of my favorite movie adaptations of the franchise. And reading this, it's pretty different than the actual movie adaptation. Apart from like you have the general storyline stuff still going on, but there's a lot of info dumping in this book, learning a lot more about Tom Riddle and the House of Gaunt and his ancestry, and essentially learning how Tom Riddle came to be Lord Voldemort and all that. And I thought it was really interesting learning about that, and I really did enjoy that aspect of this. Some of the stuff I do wish they had put in the movie, because I think it's very interesting learning a lot about Voldemort and his origin, because in the movie you really get surface level in comparison to the amount of info that's in the books. So I think, especially with the HBO adaptation they're doing, I think it'll be interesting to see this take on more of or showcase more of the information in the actual adaptation, because there's a lot of information in here setting up for the last book. So I really did like that aspect. I thought it was really good. It's still such a good novel to me. I love this one. I think it's still, after reading this, I think it's like up there is one of the higher ranking ones for me, just like the movie is. But 5 stars, great book. Had a great time reading this one. Okay, so now let's finally get into the last book, Deathly Hallows. I did start reading it. I'm only like a chapter into it, but I'm really excited to read this because I love the Deathly Hallows movies. I think they're a great conclusion to the franchise. And so I'm really intrigued to see how the movies differ from the books, because unlike some of the other movies where you have this really long book put into like a 2.5 hour movie, you have like 4.5, almost 5 hours of movie for this one book, which you can't include everything, but I'm hoping there's like a lot that was included in the movie. And I'm really excited to dive into this and wrap up the Harry Potter franchise, finally declare myself as someone who has read the entire book series. So let's get into that. Hey besties, it's been a while since I talked to you. You're probably wondering where I am. I'm actually back home for the holiday break. It's currently mid-December now, but I have a fun, exciting update. I finished Deathly Hallows. I forgot to film this like before I came home, so we're getting this update now. That's just how it's gonna be. But I finished Deathly Hallows. It was 5 stars. It was amazing. I really, really enjoyed this one. I knew I was though because I really like the movies. I think one of the things that's really interesting about this book in particular is because they split the book into two movies, you really got basically almost every scene out of this book. The only stuff you like didn't get was the stuff with Lupin and some of the confrontational things or confrontational talks he had with Harry and stuff, where Harry was essentially knocking some sense into him. But I think overall, they did a really good job adapting this one. I think it is interesting how different the ending fight scene between Harry and Voldemort was in the book compared to the movie. In the movie, it's like they're in front of the castle, or well, not castle, in front of Hogwarts in the like courtyard area. It's just the two of them, no one's around, and that's just how it goes. They fight, they have their whole duel. It was very epic on screen, and then Voldemort essentially fades away to like nothingness, like he's almost less than human. But in the book, everyone's there. Everyone's watching this whole thing go down, and then Voldemort just like falls over and dies. I don't know which version I prefer because I really liked the book way and the way like we see Voldemort come to his end. But I think in terms of like when you're watching something, I think the cinematography of the movie was actually really well done, and I think it was probably better that they did it that way instead of just having it happen the way this does. But either way, it was amazing. Absolutely loved this book. I think it was great. So I have now officially completed the entire Harry Potter series. This is very exciting for me because I've been a massive Wizarding World fan for like, I don't even know how long, but I've now read the Harry Potter series and I feel very accomplished in myself. I think if I had to like go through the different books and like rank which ones I like the best and which ones not necessarily like the least, but found like maybe the least interesting, starting with the least interesting, I would say it's probably the first two books, and it's primarily because they're just like setup books. I mean, the second book kind of starts to dive into the Voldemort info and stuff, but the backstory and the importance of everything and the overarching plot line. But the first two books are definitely lighter on the storyline and definitely are not as dark as and intense in comparison to books 3 through 7. So I would say these two are probably like lowest ranking for me. However, I will say that I did like these books a lot more than I thought I was going to because I don't know, the movies, like I think for a long time they weren't my favorite, but I do have a different appreciation for them now that I've read these books. So these are like my least favorite of the series, 1 and 2. They're just gonna go together. I'm not separating them. Then I would honestly have to say Order of the Phoenix. This is the longest one in the whole series, and I almost felt like some of the stuff that was included in here was kind of pointless. Well, not pointless, but it just seemed like we did a lot of just following Harry and the trio throughout the year, and there wasn't like too much on the actual overarching plot until the last like 150, 200 pages. And I felt like we were just the main plot of this was just the ministry basically calling Harry a liar and trying to infiltrate Hogwarts. That was the whole plot of this. And so it felt kind of lackluster at times, and I think it's also why it took me like forever to get through. I still enjoyed it. It was still a good book, but I think in terms of the overarching plot line, it wasn't as significant, and I don't think it should have been over 800 pages. Then I think I'm probably gonna have to go Prisoner of Azkaban. I really like this. It's such a good movie as well. I really like the whole Sirius Black plot line and everything. And it was like a shorter one. As you can see, it's not too long in comparison to most of the other novels. It wasn't that it wasn't like good or there were things that were missing or anything. I think it was just it was one that you just had to get through to get to the rest of the series. I still really liked learning about Sirius and stuff, and I think it was still a really good one. So it's gonna go in the middle of the pile. Then I'm gonna go with Goblet of Fire. I really liked this book a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I really liked this a lot more than the movie itself. I really like the Goblet of Fire movie. I think it's one of the more exciting ones because Harry's going through the Triwizard Tournament throughout the whole thing, and so the tasks are really exciting, and then you have the Yule Ball and all that. And I wasn't bored at all during this one, so I do think that was really exciting, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. So I really like the pacing of this one, so that's why it's going where it is. And then I'm gonna have to go with Half-Blood Prince. I really liked this book. You learn a lot about Tom Riddle's backstory and his origin and just the Gaunt family as a whole. And I really enjoyed learning about that because you don't get any of that in the movie. This is actually one of my favorite movie adaptations of the series, and so I knew I was going to really like the book. I don't know what it is about it, but I've just always really enjoyed Half Blood Prince, and I like the plot line of the movie, but also how it plays into setting up for Deathly Hallows. So I think it was really well done, and I really liked this. And then, of course, we have Deathly Hallows, the conclusion. It was epic. I really enjoyed everything about it. I think it's the best one in the series, which makes sense because it's the conclusion, wrapping everything up, everything's being revealed. And that was another thing I really liked about this. I knew a lot of the reveals and a lot of characters' true intentions and stuff, but it hit harder than it does sometimes in the movies. I didn't cry because I knew everything, but I did really like this one, and I think everything was tied up in a bow really nicely. But this has been me reading the Harry Potter series. I'm so glad I've read it. I feel like I'm deserving of my knowledge of the Wizarding World now. I'm really happy I read this series finally. It was a long time coming. I know my best friend's going to be really happy that I read this finally because she knows that I really like the Wizarding World. But we did it. I think I had early on in this video, I asked people to guess what house I'm a part of, because I think it's only fitting that you know what house I am now. I am, in fact, part of Gryffindor house. I've taken the Pottermore test. Well, it's not even called the Pottermore test anymore. I don't even know what it's called. But I took when it was Pottermore, the sorting house test, like a decade ago, and I got Gryffindor. So when I would be in my early years at Hogwarts, and then I recently actually retook it again, because I didn't remember any of my accounts or anything, and I got Gryffindor again, so that just solidifies that I am a Gryffindor. I have a scarf and a bunch of Gryffindor clothing pieces. But all in all, I really enjoyed reading the Harry Potter series. I'm really glad I read it, and I can finally say proudly that I have completed the Harry Potter series and enjoyed it. Let me know down below what you guys thought of this video. This is a long time coming reading vlog. It took me like 2 months to do this video, but I'm very happy to do it. Let me know what you guys thought of this video. If you liked this type of reading vlog, me doing a whole series and reading it for the first time. Let me know if you've read the Harry Potter books or not, which book's your favorite. If you've seen all the movies, which movie's your favorite. My favorite movie is Half-Blood Prince, and I really like Deathly Hallows Part 2 as well, which I think goes to show in my ranking of the books. But let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see in the future, and if you like to see these type of reading vlogs, make sure to do all that YouTube stuff you guys know how to do, and I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye.